Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X, and today we're actually going to talk about the decks. I think the kind of best decks that are going into the next format, and this isn't just going to be like a cut and paste, like, oh, okay, this is just going to be it. We're gonna get into it like we normally do. We're gonna have some discussion. So I don't want to like go on forever and ever and ever, so I'm gonna try to do the plugs as quick as possible. If you haven't already, follow the official Facebook group for the card game. Follow the discussion group where most of the stuff is discussed. That way you have all your bases covered, the discussions and how the players feel versus the official announcements and spoilers from the actual company themselves. You can join the Universe X Discord where lots of talk about many things happen. The card game, other games, Dragon Ball games, anime, Gundam. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in there, so just try to drop by. You also have the Reddit for the Dragon Ball Super card game. If videos aren't quite your thing, or sometimes you just like a good read, you can go there. More discussion is starting to crop up, and I'm going to be trying to do my part to help that become a better form for people that do like that sort of content a little more. Lastly, actually, there's two last things. I'm sorry, I lied to you. One, you guys should check out TCGMetalZ. He makes like just really super hot Fuego metal cards. There's always new stuff coming out, and he's always up to date with the sets. Always working, dude. Has incredible work ethic. And yeah, if you guys find things you like, and when I say if, I mean when you find things you like, you can use the code UNIX in the checkout to get 10% off your entire order. And then lastly, if you like Dragon Ball games, you know, like Dragon Ball Legends, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, you know, just like Kakarot Fighters, just like whatever Dragon Ball games that come out, if you guys want me to play them on screen, I'll play them. Right now, it's mostly Dokkan because it's 7th anniversary. I'm gonna peek back into Legends a little bit soon, but yeah, just let me know. But the link to that channel and all of those different pages in the Discord will be in the description. So, now that we are, you know, a couple days after the ban list, had a little chance to kind of look into a lot of these things. Now, when it comes to this format, it's kind of interesting because I think this format's going to take a lot less time to solve or to, you know, really dive into than previous formats, because for the most part, some very crucial things didn't change that much. And on top of that, most people have been testing gingerly, like, you know, just testing the decks because we want to know what they do, we want to know their general power level. We just weren't sure how the format was going to change around it. And now that it has, it's kind of interesting. Without Fu in the game, control decks can go for a lot, well, like mid-range decks can go for a lot longer in general without fear of just any turn past turn 6 threatening absolute game because of one single overwhelm. But this also means that games can drag out like they've never dragged out before because that was just the de facto finisher for that time space. So, I think a lot of decks are going to try to have a little bit more punchiness in them. Just to be able to kind of push damage, because we need closers for these games not to just drag forever. So we're gonna see some interesting shifts, but I definitely think it's a mid-range format. Like if you thought it was a mid-range format before, with Cell Surge being gone and you not being able to just sit there and tear apart a mid-range deck's hand and then just beat them senseless, with Gogeta Zeno having its high rolling status a little even harder to obtain now, I think this is truly the era of mid-range. That being said, I wanted to go over all the colors and just kind of like talk about the highest contenders. For red, right? I definitely think U7 is the just move for red. And I don't just mean normal, you know, the new U7 guy that's coming out. I think they both have their merits. See, Goku, right, is going to be a powerhouse. But he's very much so archetype restricted, you know? And you have powerful one-drop threats, you know, the Android 17 is a double striker that can search top 3. Frieza can minus 15 something and also dual attack for 19k each. They're both very powerful. You have a one-drop counterplay that can minus 15 something and cantrip if it kills it. That's very powerful. It's just, you have a lot of good stuff going for it. And then on top of that, you have the secret rare, which as long as you see it, no matter how you see it, if it gets put in the grave, if it gets put into your hand, you will always be able to get it back. And as long as it's not in your life or in the last cards in your deck, you're gonna always be able to see it. So that's very, very powerful. And then Ultra Mastery, being able to dual attack, being as fat as it is, being able to peek into your opponent's hand once per turn and rip out a card. Ultra Mastery is a very, very powerful asset. But in exchange for these powerful one drops, this easy, consistent pressure, these really great red finishers, you are locked into the archetype, which means you are milling, which means that your techs, sometimes, you might need a card that you put in just for a matchup, and you may end up milling all the copies. That's always just the risk you run into when you play mill. It is uncertain. Sometimes you can burn your super combos and just be like, okay, well, I don't have access to those. Sometimes you can burn all your boss cards and be like, wow, this is a really bad run. So pluses and minuses. You've got great pressure, you've got great cards for their cost. However, your accuracy in terms of what cards you can use and the general copies of each powerful card in your deck vary from game to game. However, U7 Vegeta and Gohan are both red decks, but they kind of fit more into the traditional red good stuff. These decks can run 4 copies of Piccolo Jr., the Unison. These decks can run, your copies of Crown if Crown becomes a mainstay in the format again. These decks are just decks that will see as many cards, they'll see all the cards they draw into. And because of this, you have U7 leaders that are going to be able to share certain cards, but they do different things. I definitely feel like if you need a more controlled, just like which cards you're using, if your deck is teched out, you're probably going to be wanting to use Vegeta or Gohan over UI Goku. But if you're just trying to look for general power and the format allows the deck to breed like that, UI Goku is very strong. The other thing is that UI Goku can play aggro, but I do feel like because of its milling and not knowing how many copies of certain cards you're going to get, you're not guaranteed to pick up your negates. You're not guaranteed to pick up your super combos. You can mill important things that help keep you alive. And because of this, I actually like the mid-range version of UI Goku better than the aggro version, because I feel like the aggro version is linear as well as fragile. Whereas U7 Gohan and Vegeta can play very aggressively. You can put the Bardock package in Vegeta. You can also just go hard with Gohan and run kind of like a mid-range-ish tempo that can lean into aggression, like I was doing at Gen Con and just testing around with after. You have King Piccolo can just do work, but King Piccolo I kind of consider fringe. They didn't lose anything, they didn't gain anything either. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of puts them in a space where, yeah, people could probably get wins with the deck, but there are probably better red decks to play, like the aforementioned ones. A huge buff to yellow, or to red, was actually Power of the Super Saiyan going, because Divine Presence is one of the strongest cards in red. 2 cost, very aggressive, powerful protection during your turn. It is one of red's easiest things. You're going to combo anyway to put pressure on. Why not pay 2 and play a boss monster? On top of that, now that Power of Super Saiyan's at 1, you just know that this guy is going to hit the field and maybe will actually get off an attack, because they won't just like, oh yeah, you're playing red, I'm holding all my Power of Super Saiyan for Divine Presence. Screw you. So that's very, very, very good for this deck. That's a very good buff. Moving on to blue, you have Soul Striker. I don't need to explain why Soul Striker is going to be used. Soul Striker is just a very, very, very strong generic leader. It is able to untap 2, draw 1, and that's all you really need to know. Soul Striker has been around since the dawn of time, faded out, got rebooted, has been back since the start of the Unison Warrior format, and you can't blame people for wanting to use it. It's very powerful. However, as much as people have been hating on this leader, the new Super Saiyan God Goku leader is actually not bad for a plethora of reasons. So, 1, he's not as generically good as Soul Striker with the untap 2, draw 1. However, with his draw 1, untap 1 comes a very important factor. This leader is not tied to a 3-cost Unison. He can awaken as early as 8 life if you defensively combo on your opponent's first swing. Most of the time, he'll, like most, turn 2 awaken leaders, will probably awaken at 7 life, but that's something that Goku Soul Striker could do, but you had to survive till turn 3 without taking a lot of damage. Sometimes it doesn't really happen in the format. Whereas this deck can easily do it. The math is just there. If you're going first, you could start off with a Legend of the Super Saiyan God, tap 1, discard a blue Saiyan, draw 2, burst 1. Highest roll, you're gonna burst a Saiyan, and that's 2 out of the 3 you need. They swing on you, you discard a Saiyan to draw a card. That's 3. And then the following turn, all you need to do is swing and get that effect off again, and maybe combo 1 more card. Bam, you can awaken. Or if you have another Legend of a Super Saiyan God, do it. He also adds 1 card from your hand to your life, and you can negate the skill for the battle, so he has self-awakening of his own. But it says up to, so you don't have to. If you're not trying to fetch cards, you can keep your life where it is. But if you go first, you could do Awakening, or Legend of a Super Saiyan God, drop 1, maybe burst 1, swing through leader, activate battle, don't take a life, discard 1, draw 1, and you're already sitting at 2 to 3 for that turn. It's very, very good. He's going to be able to awaken very early, and his awakening is a draw 3 untap one, meaning that if you do use a card like the Legend of the Super Saiyan God, you can use that to get your awakening count and then untap that energy and not waste anything, knowing he's going to be able to swing and untap again, so you can make your play and go. It's very, very versatile, and his ability is going to put 5 of the Saiyans underneath him to awaken, so it's easily reachable numbers. And he can awaken very much so faster, meaning he's going to be able to, you know, just be a 15k as a turn 2. Very, very nice. Now, the other ramifications of this leader being the way it is because you're not tied into a 3-drop unison, you can use a 2-drop unison, which is actually going to change up the math even further. You could run Zeno, allowing you to potentially -5 for great board clears and turnarounds. He's going to be able to, like, put a energy onto the board, and then at the end of the turn it's going to go to the grave. Well, if that blue energy was a Saiyan, you were literally adding on to your awakening. So yeah, this guy is where it's at. Like, he's actually very, very much so a better leader than most people feel. And yeah, so blue in general has not lost anything, hasn't gained anything, but they're gaining, from the Banlist at least, but they're gaining tools from this set. And because of that, blue's gonna be a very, very dominant force. However, any format where blue is a great color is generally a great format, I think, because blue is one of the easiest colors to counter. There's so many silver bullets, Divine Presence, Rex Havoc. Like, there's a lot of things that decks can do to kind of get under blue. So if blue's a little bit more tuned than other ones, or a little better off than other colors, I never mind that, because other colors can bring the hate for blue. Green, lol. Okay, yeah. You could play King Cold. Green is still the gimmick color. This set did not help it out of that point, but it gave it a bunch of cool cards. So you might see some green roguing every now and then, but green is not going to be a dominant force. Hopefully next set will kind of remedy this. You can play King Cold. I wouldn't say Gotenks, because Gotenks didn't really gain anything. Like, you have generic blue cards that, yeah, or generic green cards that could go into Gotenks. But if Gotenks isn't doing anything right now, really, it's probably not doing much for, you know, just the future, because some of these decks are kind of getting stronger. Going into yellow, Trunks and Vegeta. This is no surprise. Everybody kind of knows what this deck be doing. And Trunks and Vegeta is just, it's strong because it has a mix of Trunks and Vegeta. The leader is drawing consistently, not Icarus drawing, but drawing consistently. On top of that, once you awaken and start EX evolving, you're actually plussing off of every EX evolve, and that's disgusting. Plus your leader turn, you're actually going to see, or your leader's effect, you're going to see a fair amount of cards per turn. Yellow still has the cantripping cards, such as Turles. I mean, Trunks is a Saiyan, so you can still use Turles. You've also got Steadfast at your disposal. You lose, you know, all your powers with Super Saiyan except 1, but the deck didn't even need it really to do what it needs to do. It also has a very unique boss card that offers Yellow a level of burst that it did not previously have. That boss card is tricky, but combine that boss card with Turles, and you got a pretty strong offensive board. You got the Turles, you got the yeah, you got your Turles, you got this new boss monster, you got some of the EX evolves, like the Vegeta EX evolve, if you choose to use it. This deck has a fair amount of threatening offensive capability, and on top of that, it has Yellow's defense, making it clearly head and shoulders one of the best decks that's going to be in the format next format. Now you move over to Zamasu and Goku Black, and it's more of a, you know, hybrid deck. It's a 2-color deck, 2-tone, but they're 2 of the best colors in the game, and that's where things will start getting dangerous. Now the deck is extremely hard to build, hard to pilot. However, Coercion is, no pun intended, godly level filter, and so you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to see a lot of your cards, a lot of your outs, a lot of your powerful pivots. It has a lot of check lands. You can run Zamasu the Eliminator. You can run the 8-drop Goku, Fuse Zamasu that comes into play, or comes into your energy untapped if your leader is Zamasu or Goku Black. So you're really looking at a position where you have a very fluid level of charging for blue-yellow. And then all the ability to use these blue-yellow effects. You'll have access to Sensu Bean, but you'll have access to the yellow cards. When he flips over, Goku Black is a Saiyan god, so you're going to be able to use Turles once you flip over, which is going to happen very early in the game if you're playing correctly. More importantly, on a kind of a toxic level, this deck can forcibly shut off energy. Like I was stating in my other video, if you kind of try to go in on it and they drop a Kefla, lightning fast, like SS2 lightning fast Kefla, if they drop her on the board and they have that Goku Black in the warp, congratulations, because they've probably drawn enough to see the Kefla. I mean, heck, they could not have the Goku Black, and you could see them untap, charge, coercion, remove the Goku Black, and all they have to do at this point before even attacking anything is discard another Kefla, tap down one of your energy, tap 2, play Goku Black, tap down your energy. So usually leaving 2 up is a pretty good defensive measure of energy. Against this deck, they can forcibly tap that out. If they see a Bergamo in hand, they can tap up to 4 energy in 1 turn, and that could be the big closing turn. If the board is set up and you leave 4 energy up, and they have 4 energy, some colors are just going to be ass out because they can literally just Kefla, get that out of here, like tap that, tap 2, Goku Black, tap that, and you know what? Now I'm going to trigger my Bergamo, tap 2, play him, tap your last 2 energy. And you went from 4 open energy to defend yourself to 0 open energy, and now they can start swinging. And by the way, now their 30k Kefla is a dual attack double striker. They have a Goku Black that's meaty in attack power, and they have Bergamo on the field. That's a sizable board already. If you couldn't clear a Turles from last turn, sorry guy. So that's actually kind of a problem. As for Sin Shenron, Sin is nasty. It's still been nasty. You can't hurt Sin without directly attacking the archetype, and I don't think they're ever going to directly attack Sin. Without Fu being in the format, once that deck gets to turn 6, it's pretty much God. You won't be able to outpace it. So now it's going to be kind of rough. Like, Debro's not in the format to start removing stuff from the graveyard over and over again. They just took out Black Smoke, so removed it from the decks that could have used it in the format. So Sin could very well be a very dangerous deck to handle. Sin is always just kind of on the periphery, kind of lurking, waiting for its time to wreak havoc before it slinks back off into the shadows until somebody wants to do it again. It is what it is. In yellow, I'm also going to put any competent yellow deck. It doesn't really matter. Yellow's defensive core is still so strong, and they didn't really hurt it, and it still has Swift Retaliation Cooler, so when it goes in for game, you really can't do anything about it. They have the proper card and energy. So, in all honesty, oh yeah, that's what I forgot to say, Trunks is a built-in Champa, so you don't even need that 3rd freaking energy anymore. If Trunks has 3 open energy and decides to shotgun you, congratulations, you are going to have to contest with its shotgun, because chances are you're getting coolered, your counter has got to be countered, they're going to activate the Chomp effect and put the entire hand on it, so have fun with that. But any other deck, yellow still has so many good overtune cards, Slug, SS4 Annihilation, Swift Retaliation Cooler, Bergamo. They still kept their Poutine if you use it. If your yellow deck is not straight cheeks, you will probably see some sort of success with it. You just may get outpaced by a stronger yellow deck or a more teched out deck or a player that knows what they're doing more, but yellow is still just that color. And then last but not least, to tie up the video, we are going to hit up Black. Black, you have Gogeta Zeno, which is still good, but one of the things that was wild about Gogeta Zeno is that it was a high roll, low roll deck. And as we saw at PPG Tampa, you can low roll and still just mollywop people. It did win, barely. However, you're losing the Trunks is very, very much so a consistency piece. You can now no longer just mill willy-nilly. Like, if you mill and you mill your overwhelms, okay, you need Goku to get it back. You need to draw another one. You're not going to necessarily just be able to mill a Trunks, get it to your hand, and know that, okay, once I'm done fusing and I've comboed once, I can use Trunks, put them back in the warp so I can fuse again. And it's actually very, very crucial consistency piece. No free pluses from the warp as well. So that's kind of a hefty hit, and that makes it so that it's much easier to low roll with the deck because your reveals aren't as good and the perfect circle has yet another chink in the wheel. So yeah, whether this is going to be enough to affect it across an 8-round tourney, I don't know. But high roll, low roll decks always kind of scare me because it is an 8-round tourney. You could have a smoking 8 rounds, you could have good 5 rounds and some hairy 3 rounds. You could mill like AIDS all day and feel really bad about life. So that's kind of sucky. Now Trunks, the new Xeno Trunks, he doesn't have the top end that Gogeta Zeno has because Gogeta Zeno is able to use all of the Gogeta Zeno fusions, and they're very, very, very good at what they do. However, you can use the most important one, I'd say, which is thwarting. The deck has insane amounts of filter attached to the leader, and it only gets more efficient as you flip over, can awaken at high life, can protect the unison, and while its archetype pieces are pound for pound weaker, the cards that are locked to it are weaker than Gogeta Zeno. The only saving grace for Trunks is, 2 saving graces for Trunks' archetype is that it gets its own essentially it gets its own new ruler / Tapion Calamity Challenger in the format of SS3 Trunks. But it also has its own miniature floodgate in the form of that negate pan for 1. So you can't even get a crown out of your hand because you can just leave 1 energy up and stops battle cards, or at least kind of topos battle cards. So those are saving graces, but pound for pound, the archetype specific cards outside of those are weaker than Gogeta's now. However, you're not going to be reliant as much on the mill. You're going to be drawing a lot with the deck, and the deck has built-in removal on the leader. So if you ever, stuck with on turns, you get baby hatched, and you're not going to kill them this turn, but you definitely want to mitigate some of the damage. You have options, you know what I mean? Like, you can literally just pay the 1 spirit boost and remove the hatch or remove a big threat from the board, and that threat could be a Kefla. That threat could be a big beater. That threat can be an ultra master you don't want swinging next turn. This is a very, 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 very good leader, and even though it's weaker than the high roll of Xeno, I think that it could potentially be very much so a better contender for consistency, because consistency kills. You could make a argument for Vegex being a deck where you control, but you're still relying on milling. So I think at this point, Trunks and Gogeta are just better picks than Vegex. And you could play Hatch, but if you play Hatch, just knows that the community hates you, or at least will hate you for the 1 tournament you played at, and any subsequent tournaments you played at afterwards, because nobody has fun playing with Hatch. Just nobody. So that is the video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I just wanted to talk about these decks and kind of just roll over them and just kind of get the discussion going. If this is something you think could be put into a text document for Reddit, let me know, and I will post it as my next discussion page thing. Maybe I'll just do that anyway, but just let me know what you feel in the comments. I'm happy to be able to make more content. These things are kind of coming to me as I just move along, like, in the day. And yeah, thank you guys for all the support. We're still on the road to 2K. Still waiting to see if a little more people can enter for this. It is a free giveaway, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you could win this. Still planning giveaways with TCGMetalZ for the Crimson Warriors. And yeah, if you like this sort of content, you think you want more, hit that subscribe button, that notification button, comment on the video, help it trend, and I will be back to serve you up more content. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time inside Join Universe X. Later.